We'll go ahead and call the Willmar City Council meeting for Monday, May 15th to order. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin,
Here.
Councilmember Nelson,
Here.
Christensen,
Here.
Schwantes,
Here.
Alvarado,
Here.
Osmus,
Here.
Maskey,
Here.
Plowman,
Here.
Fagerly,
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda from the council? I have one, and it's a destination playground change order that staff will present. Is there anything else?
I have one from the work session. I think the council wanted to add language for the master cooperative agreement for the Y project.
Thank you. Is there anything else? So with those two additions, can we get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the amended agenda. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. First, we'll have the destination playground change order. Sean?
Council, I guess I don't have it in front of me. I didn't know that I was, so my understanding
Mike, do you have it?
that it will be the thickness of the, I believe it's the thickness of the fall protection of the rubberized flooring.
Under certain areas.
Yeah, that's correct. So what this change order involves is there's a certain number of playground units that need additional fall protection is how they classify it. And so what happens is the way they handle that is by increasing the thickness of this poured-in-place rubber. And so what this change order does, $1,574, it adds the thickness in the specific areas as designated on the plans.
Council?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the change order and to add an additional half-inch of membrane in the amount of $1,574. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Christensen,
Aye.
Schwantes,
Aye.
Alvarado,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Maskey,
Aye.
Plowman,
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
Next, we'll have the update on the Y project. Bruce, if you could just give us a very brief update.
Mayor Kelman, members of the council, it will indeed be brief. As mentioned at the work session, we're nearing completion of the master cooperative agreement. We hope to come to terms with that very quickly. I don't believe we have our typical Wednesday morning meeting this week. There's some other meetings that are taking the place of that meeting. But all of the public and private partners continue to be engaged and to move that project forward. The grant is anticipated to be signed in June. As was mentioned earlier, that process got moved up a few months due to some concerns about the future of the Tiger Grant program. So it looks like the project's going to go, and we should be seeing construction beginning in 2018.
Okay, Council, what do you wish to do? Councilmember Nelson.
Just point of clarification, as we discussed, that we wanted to approve the information that you presented. So what format or how do you want that? Do you have a suggestion for what you brought forward in
Yeah. A simple motion to approve that language, Councilmember Nelson, would be all we would need tonight, and then we will bring back the full master cooperative agreement.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the language as we discussed in the work session, but it might be helpful for someone to actually read that as part of that motion.
Mr. Peterson, motion made and seconded.
Mayor Calvin, members of the council, as much as I'd like to do that, I can't because my computer is updating Windows, and I don't know why I picked this time to do it, but if someone else has that particular language on their screen, I'd be happy to read that.
Judy can read it for us. Judy, can you go ahead and read it for us, please?
That's it.
The language is BNSF will construct embankment for the rail siding in conjunction with mainline embankment construction. BNSF will report average daily train traffic over the Y on an annual basis for 5 years following activation of the new rail line. MnDOT has identified a theoretical capacity of the Y track at 12 trains per day. BNSF's annual reporting on average daily traffic volume enables the public partners to compare actual train activity versus that threshold. In the event annual average daily traffic volume exceeds the 12 trains per day theoretical capacity during the reporting period, the parties agree to meet to discuss the network conditions leading to the threshold being exceeded and, if jointly determined to be necessary, implement operational or other measures to direct movement of train traffic between the Morris and Marshall subdivisions over the Y rather than the Willmar terminal.
Okay, as Judy read that, basically what it gives us is after the Y is built and completed, we have 5 years from that completion date to evaluate the traffic. If it exceeds 12 trains per day on an average, then the parties will get together to discuss whether they're going to put the siding in. Staff has negotiated this position. The original position that we had sought was to have the siding go in, and so this is an adjustment to that, and the council is going to take action to approve that so that we can keep the project moving. So that's kind of the background behind it. Additional discussion. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are they still grading it for the future one?
Yes, they are. Yes.
Thank you.
Additional discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Next, we have the consent items. Judy?
Consent items are the City Council minutes of May 1st, Willmar Municipal Utilities Board minutes of May 8th, Planning Commission minutes of May 10th, application for exempt permit from the Pheasants Forever Incorporated, liquor license for 1000 Degrees Neapolitan Pizzeria, memorandum of agreement for the supervisor group, updated employment policies, practices, and procedures document, building maintenance coordinator position and job description, memorandum of record for the 2017 non-represented employees, a resolution approving plans and specs for the Airport East Taxi Lane. There's 4 resolutions adopting improvement project budgets, to accept the Central Community Transit Operation Board minutes of March 28th, the Willmar Community Center Board minutes of April 14th, the Community Ed and Rec Joint Powers Board minutes of April 28th, building report for the month of April 2017, Fire Department statistics report for the month of April 2017, and the accounts payable report through May 10th, 2017, and other financial reports.
So is there a motion to approve the consent items as they've been presented?
Mr. Mayor?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Councilmember Plowman.
Could we pull item J for discussion regarding the Airport East Taxi Lane project?
Yes. Councilmember Nelson.
I would like to pull G, H, and I. And I would like to, not quite sure of the correct procedure for this, but I'd like them to come back to us in a work session to be reviewed. These were some of the items that we had talked about at our previous work session, and I thought they were going to come back to us to be reviewed in a work session.
Okay. And you want to leave F in? I'd like to pull F. Anything else? Seeing and hearing nothing else, all of the other items to be approved, the liquor under E for 1000 Degree Neapolitan Pizzeria, that will be covered under the roll call It is a simple motion, but it takes a roll call vote because it has to do with alcohol. So hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Schwantes.
Aye.
Alvarado.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Metzke.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution does pass. Next, we have item number J, Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just thought it would be a good idea regarding the airport project and the taxi lane project that's going to be taking place. I don't believe that we should do anything to hold it up, but our local FBO is here, and I think it'd be good to discuss this project and a couple items that have been brought up by airport users, community members. Number one, regarding the storm drainage plan, and number two, regarding the time window of construction and how that might affect users of the airport. And I think it would be beneficial to tap our FBO for some of that information.
Mr. Rundigan, would you like to address the issues that have been presented by Mr. Councilmember Plowman? Or staff, were you going to address that? No? No. Mr. Rundigan?
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would defer to staff members when they would like to add to anything I have to say. You're probably more familiar with it than I am even, but this plan was approved at by the Airport Commission at the last Airport Commission meeting. There have been some concerns by hangar owners that enough subsurface drainage be included in this project. It is primarily a surface drainage improvement. If you come out, actually today would have been a great day to see what happens. The water, obviously rain falls and the water stays in spots around those private hangars. The surface water does not run away as you would like to see it do. And so this taxi lane reclamation project really is a reshaping of the taxiways to allow the water to run to the taxiway and then off to the south into the normal surface drainage. One thing to note that is a difficulty when engineering these things, and I am by no means an engineer, but the airport is designed to hold its own water. We aren't shedding water into the watershed, and so that does become an issue. The entire airport is very flat, so subsurface moisture becomes an issue even with drain tile. Where does that go? So the concerns that have been brought to me, and they were brought to the Airport Commission as well. I think Bolton and Mink did a very nice presentation at the last Airport Commission meeting going through some of these things. But some of the concerns were the possibility of adding some additional drain tile. I'm not sure if that can be added with an addendum or anything to the bid documents. The rush for the bid documents, and I hate to say rush, but it really is, we're dealing with 3 timelines. The city of Willmar, the state of Minnesota, and the FAA all have different fiscal years. And so the timing is critical to get these documents to bid so that we can be eligible for our federal entitlement dollars. And then, and so any questions on the subsurface drainage? Andrew, do you feel like I summed that up as far as what's been?
Yeah, that sounded good to me from the documentation and the plans and specs that I've overviewed from Bolton and Mink. Everything looks very thorough, and maybe additional tile work that might need to be done in peripheral areas should be able to easily be connected into that main storm drain. So that alleviates some of my concerns. I just wanted it part of the public record.
Certainly. Anybody else have questions in regards to the airport? Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you. I had a couple phone calls from some pilots and wanted to make sure that you stated public that there will be drainage below the inverted runway when they're done. There will be some tile below there.
Yeah, there is currently some tile down there, and so I think one of the things that we need to do is make sure that that is operating as it's supposed to be operating. And then as things need to be added, I would hope that the engineers would take that into consideration as well. There are some tile lines in that area right now.
And then the fact that the tile is below the surface and the surface holds water, where's the water going to go?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And so what the design, from the way I understand it, and Sean, you can maybe add if you'd like, but the thought process that the engineer has is that we walked out, actually, Silas from Bolton and Mink came out one day, and we just walked around the site for about an hour, and I showed him where you could see where water was ponding and things like that. And he's very confident that if we can get that surface water moved to the south, there's a drainage swale that does work the way it's supposed to. It's simply the water from that private hangar area is not able to get to the drainage swale on the south because of some changes in elevation and some hangars that are maybe a little higher than they should have been, and then that south taxiway with a crown holds back some water as well. And so if you look at the plans, the inverted crown on the would be the north-south runs, if you will, and the very south taxi lane, which is an east-west run, will actually be tilted to run that into that drainage swale and move the surface water, as much of the surface water as we can, out of there. And then the hope is that that will help to alleviate the subsoil moisture issues as well.
So it'll be all gravity and no pumps involved then?
No pumps in this plan, no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you. And as to the second part of the question, maybe I'll direct it to our city engineer regarding the bid process for this. I know there was some discussion about bidding it possibly two ways. The first way, obviously bidding the entire project as one. The second way, possibly bidding it as a staged project in order to alleviate any concerns about aircraft housing and where those aircraft might be located during this potential 40-day period. Do you know anything regarding that?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Plowman, I can speculate and I can give my opinion on what I would recommend if asked when it comes time. By the way, Eric did a great job of the engineering comments, so he did fine there. What I would propose is to bid the whole thing as one project, and then when it gets to pre-construction meetings and things of that nature, have those phasing conversations so that we can phase that in and not displace everybody at once, because that's, for obvious reasons, not going to work. Rather than bid 2, 3, or more different projects, as you know, the prices tend to go up after that, you know, especially when it's the same bidders each time. So that's what I would propose, and we can even put that probably in the specs or the bid docs and say, you know, phasing will be discussed or whatever with the contractor at a later date.
Okay, so you're comfortable moving forward with this as is tonight?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Eric.
That's a resolution, so then take a roll call if you want to introduce it.
I would move to approve as worded.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution approving the plans and specs for Airport East taxi lanes. Roll call.
Councilmember Schwantes?
Aye.
Alvarado?
Aye.
Osmus?
Aye.
Maskey?
Aye.
Plowman?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Christensen?
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution does pass. Next, we have agenda items number G, H, and I. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. In looking through these, at least for sure with G, and we had discussions also on H, we had asked them to come back to the work session. The format that they're in now does not show the old format and the new format, and so it was difficult to compare to the document that we had previously, and I believe that we had asked for it to be brought back during a work session to be reviewed. And if I understand correctly, Bridget won't be at the next meeting, so we might have to wait to do that.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could comment?
City Administrator McGuire.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, the direction was to bring it back to the May 15th council meeting, and that's why we did that.
Is there anybody that wishes to make a motion to accept those three items? Seeing and hearing none, we'll go to item number F. Item number F, Bridget, if you, under now therefore, parties agree to number 1, at the end of that, it's underlined, it says, furthermore, paragraph 2 in Article 11.3 is not valid. The employee cannot select the cash payment of their accrued sick leave. Is that supposed to be in the document, or is that an internal note that didn't get removed?
That, are you talking about sorry.
I'm talking about the memorandum of agreement for the supervisors group,
Right,
and I'm talking after the whereases, it's now therefore. The
Yes.
parties agree as follows.
yes.
And it says, furthermore, paragraph 2 in Article 11.3 is not valid. The employee cannot select a cash payment of their accrued sick leave. That appears to me to be an internal correspondence, and is that something you want in an actual policy?
Yes, the MSRS requested that it be in there.
Okay. Council, what do you wish to do? Councilmember Nelson.
I'm confused how it's referencing an article that's not listed in the agreement. And I did ask previously if this document had been reviewed by our labor attorney.
Yes, and what it is the memorandum of agreement, this part will be changed in the agreement at the end of this year. This will be just an attachment to it so that when we go into negotiations, this part will be added into the agreement. That's why MSRS asked for it.
Councilmember Meske, if we don't have a motion, we can't move on it.
Paragraph 2 in Article 11.3, what document is that in again?
In the group's agreement, the union group's, the supervisor's agreement?
And so they have an invalid piece in the current agreement?
Yes, it's not, they cannot take a cash payment for their sick leave. The payment has to go into the MSRS HCSP program.
Okay.
And we listed it in the agreement that they had a choice,
I see.
and they don't.
And we can't modify the agreement until it's renegotiated?
That's why you have a memorandum of agreement.
Got it.
Mr. Scott, have you reviewed this?
Mr. Mayor, I reviewed it as part of my review of the overall packet for the meeting today, not specifically in advance of the meeting. I think this works, as I understand the situation. You have a clause in the actual negotiated collective bargaining agreement with this group that doesn't work, that gives them, the employees, a choice that they wouldn't actually have. It's been requested to be addressed. The parties will be on record now in an MOU essentially saying that choice isn't valid, that they can't take a cash payment. That will be legally binding until the new agreement is negotiated. So I think this is a acceptable solution to what I understand the problem is.
Okay. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm assuming you're talking about paragraph 2 there where it starts, this payment should be made within 45 days. If you go down to the second to last line, it says the money cannot, Eileen, be received. What's ILIEN mean? It's there.
Bridget,
Trying to find that. Sorry.
what page are you on in the document, Councilmember Christensen?
What-
Are you on page 29?
It's on the memorandum.
Yeah, it's the memorandum, first page of the memorandum agreement. It must be a mistype. I mean, I don't know I'm not sure what it.
Yeah, MSRS reviewed this, so I'll check with them, but I think it is a mistype.
I'd just like to make a recommendation that we bring it back next time with the rest of them.
In the lack of a motion, we will go to the next item on the agenda unless there's a motion to approve this. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go to the Open forum. On open forum, we have Gail Hawkinson. Ms. Hawkinson? If you'd like to come to the podium, your name, your address, and then what you would like to talk with the council about. And just so you know, we have a 3-minute time limit, and that will go up on the screen. Don't let that distract you, but it's just a process that we use for internal controls. So if you would like to come to the podium, I'd appreciate it. You signed up. Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. This was giving you the opportunity to speak. We're glad you're here. Welcome. You get to see the government process in action, so excellent. Okay, no problem at all. Next, we have consideration of a general or GM Development Business Subsidy Agreement. Mr. Peterson.
Mayor Kelvin, members of the council, we have completed our work with GM Development for the most part regarding the development of an LTL trucking terminal in our industrial park. The council has approved the purchase agreement. The sale of land has been approved by ordinance. We have not yet closed because there's one step left, and that's the business subsidy agreement. The last step in that process is to adopt the business subsidy agreement, at which time we can close on the property. We're ready to close. The subsidy agreement does require a public hearing. Staff is recommending that a public hearing be set for the June 5th council meeting for the GM Development LLC business subsidy agreement.
Council?
Move to approve the GM public comment.
Public hearing?
Second. Yes.
Motion made and seconded to approve June 5th for a public hearing for the business subsidy agreement for GM GM Development Business Subsidy Agreement. Discussion.
So, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, the motion is to schedule the public hearing.
Schedule the public hearing for June 5th. Correct. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Next is consideration of purchase agreement with ISCO on behalf of Bueller Versatile. Bruce.
Mayor Kelvin, members of the council, we have a purchase agreement out with a company called ISCO. They are the parent company or the real estate holding company for Bueller Versatile that's headquartered in Canada. They wish to purchase the property directly south of the Bueller plant in the industrial park. It's a 5.9 acre tract. The sale price is $322,807.50. They have proposed that they would create a minimum of 31 new positions over the next 3 years. Under the terms of our land write-down policy, this would give them a credit of $310,000 towards the purchase if those jobs are created and maintained. We've got a few steps we need to take in this process. The first is for the council to approve the purchase agreement and to move forward with the final sale of the property. A business subsidy agreement is also required to document the responsibilities of the company with respect to the land write-down and employment creation. So staff's going to make a couple different recommendations. These recommendations are very much tied to the schedule of Bueller Versatile. They would like to get the property closed on in early June because they're going to be going through a hiring process, and they'd like those jobs credited towards the land write-down. The net amount payable for the sale of the property will be the $322,000 less whatever they are actually credited for under the business subsidy agreement. We've got a couple different alternatives. We can either move forward with this sale to ISCO on behalf of Bueller Versatile to not sell the property or to renegotiate a purchase price. The purchase price that was negotiated is a full price at $1.25 a square foot, and that is the starting point always for any write-downs under the city's write-down policy. So I'm looking for 3 different types of action on this particular project. I'd like to have the council authorize the mayor and administrator to sign the purchase agreement. The next action I would like is that the council set a public hearing for the sale and conveyance of real property to ISCO, and that's a charter requirement. And the third one would be to set the public hearing to consider the business subsidy agreement between the City of Willmar and Bueller Versatile. And I would recommend that those two public hearings also be at the June 5th council meeting. That way we should be able to close on the sale of that property within a week after that as well. We can get these projects moving.
Okay, so the first action we need is to authorize the mayor and the administrator to sign the purchase agreement with ISCO in the amount of $322,807.50, and then using the write-down policy that the city has in place for a total payment of $12,807.50. Council?
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Peterson, with regards to the land write-down policy, maybe you can clear up a question I've always had. Okay, so I'm under the assumption that in this case, there will be some sort of facility or something of that nature. The grounds will be used for something. Do we take into consideration when they're talking new jobs or new hirings, is it a factor whether or not those jobs or hirings are going to be on that physical location, or doesn't it really matter where the jobs or hirings, where those positions will be filled?
Mr. Peterson?
Mayor Kelvin, council member Plowman, members of the council, that's a really good question, one that I'd never considered. These jobs are to be at the Bueller facility in Willmar. I would imagine that that's some language that we could very easily write into a business subsidy agreement so that we're counting those, the Willmar jobs. We don't want to give them credit for jobs they're going to put somewhere else. I think it's understood, but it might be something worthwhile to put in writing. In this particular case, they're going to probably be a couple of years out on any facilities. All the credit they're getting is for employment. They do want to do some cold storage and test facilities across the road from them, but they're really not tied to that under this particular project. The credits they're getting for this real estate purchase are based on the next door property or the property across the road. And for all intents and purposes, that's considered contiguous property because there's nothing separating the two except the public right-of-way. So it's a little bit of a different situation, but I couldn't see anything under our policies that would not allow them to utilize that policy to purchase that property as long as the adjacent plant is the one that is creating the employment.
May I follow up? Do you believe that it would be worthwhile to re-explore the policy just to ensure that that's something that's ironclad, say for larger corporations, they could make an agreement to hire on additional personnel, but those personnel could be located elsewhere? Is there a...
Well, I think we could easily add that to the policy. What works here in our favor is they have to report their local employment to the state of Minnesota for business subsidy monitoring purposes, and we see that stuff first, and we're not going to qualify those positions in the report to the state of Minnesota. So we're going to say that if they created something off-site, we just wouldn't qualify it and tell them it's an invalid hire for our purposes. But we could easily update our policy.
At the risk of speaking for others on behalf of the council, I think we value these projects and the investment that these companies make, but I think we also want to be sure that when we are, doing our land right down and we're, transferring land at a, renegotiated price, so to speak, that it's a good deal for the city of Willmar. Thank you.
Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering if we need to re-look at our write-down policy. I mean, if they were going to do 35 jobs there, would we be writing them a check? I mean, I think we need to put some kind of a maximum on the number of jobs versus the amount of money that we ask for that property. I mean, like we're giving it to them for $12,800. It doesn't sit right with me.
Mr. Peterson, can you answer that question? I mean, they can never receive credits above the value of the property purchase, correct?
That's correct. They will never be written a check. In this particular situation, we've got a company that's got some good manufacturing growth plans, and if you've followed a lot of the national news, any of the manufacturing jobs we can hang on to and grow are so valuable in this economy looking to the future that I wouldn't be adverse to sitting down with the council and talking about putting some limits on that, but in this particular case, I think we should move forward with this write-down. The company has been doing pretty well in a tough agricultural market, and they really do plan to grow themselves out of that bad market. They're a very aggressive company.
But it seems like we're basically buying the jobs, and we're giving $10,000 for each job of their payroll that they normally would pay these people for. We so oftentimes treat the big companies with all kinds of whipped cream, and the small guy in Willmar doesn't get anything. We're assured they're going to get 31 jobs, and they're going to be paying taxes and hopefully buying groceries and gas in Willmar. But I see this too often, even with major companies get the major benefits, and we just keep paying and paying and paying. And I would like to revisit, I think we should, and put some kind of a cap on it. Giving somebody property, I don't know, I think we need to revisit that.
I'll bring the policy back to a work session, Councilmember Christensen.
And then maybe we can look at that, make sure what Andrew said, those jobs will be on that particular plat or that portion.
I can bring back some recommended language for the council to start with, and we can fine-tune it and adjust the policy.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nelson.
Just clarification, we are following our current policy that we've established, correct?
To the letter.
Okay, if we're going to review that, I think it would also be helpful to see what other communities are doing, because I think that's important too with what opportunities they have for businesses. So before we pass judgment on just ours, I think it would be helpful to see some other communities our size and what they are doing to entice and to work with businesses.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schwantes.
Mr. Mayor, I understand from what was indicated here in the introduction that this company is ready to move in hiring these positions. I would certainly not want us to have to wait until the business subsidy agreement policy be removed before making a decision on this. That's critical to the company, and I think as long as we're following what our current policy is, we should be able to honor that.
Additional discussion, Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I in no way am suggesting that we do this prior to this happening. I mean, let's review this after this is over with. I mean, we're following policy, and that's fine. That's with policies there. But we can review it after this.
Mr. McGuire, can you make sure that gets put on the agenda for Ike? Thanks.
Yes.
Additional discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Alvarado.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Maskey.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Schwantes.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution does pass. The next is a motion would be in order to set a public hearing for the sale and conveyance of real property to ISCO for June 5th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to set a public hearing for the sale and conveyance of real property to ISCO. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does pass. Next, to set a public hearing to consider the business subsidy agreement between the City of Willmar and Bueller Versatile Incorporated. That public hearing will also be held on June 5th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to set a public hearing for the business subsidy agreement. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion passes as well. I'm sorry, all opposed? That motion does pass. Next is consideration of an ordinance to rezone from agricultural to general business. Mr. Peterson.
Mayor Kelvin, members of the council, at the Planning Commission meeting this last week, a public hearing was conducted to consider a request by FRE Holdings LLC of Cold Spring for the rezoning of property from ag to general business. Schweeder Chevrolet has proposed rezoning the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Willmar Avenue and Lakeland Drive. It's part of the old Hawkinson Farm. The property's been cropland for as long as I've been around, and our comprehensive plan does show that it is future commercial property. It's a recommendation of staff that the council move to set the public hearing on the rezoning for the June 5th council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve rezoning from agricultural to general business. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. That motion does carry. Next, we have the acknowledgement of Robbins Island Destination Playground donation. Mr. Christensen.
The council, in front of you is the latest, being the third donation to accept $99,000 from the Community Foundation. This would be for funds for the Robbins Island Destination Playground. In the past, you've accepted two, one on February 6th for the amount of $200,000, and a second one on March 20th for $99,000. This would be a third amount of $99,000 to cover bills that are continuing to come in for that playground.
Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the donation for funds for Robbins Island Destination Playground. Discussion. Again, this project is moving forward nicely, and so again, thank you to the community for the donations of making this happen. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus. Aye. Meske.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Fagerly. Nelson.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Schwantes.
Aye.
Alvarado.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
And that resolution passes as well. The next, I just want to make a couple announcements, community announcements. First off, I sent an email to the council on Sunday morning that the Willmar Lakes area has been selected to host the 2018 Minnesota Governor's Fishing Opener. And you've got a document in front of you that talks about that, and that's very good news for our area. Of course, Green Lake will be where a lot of the people will be fishing off of Green Lake. So on behalf of the Willmar Lakes area, Mayor Baker accepted that notice of us getting that governor's fishing opener. It's a very good thing for our community and our region. It gives us a lot of tourism dollars. A lot of people come in and actually attend the event. Someplace between 300 and 400 people will be at that event. They come in to town on a Thursday, and they're here through Sunday. A lot of different events that happen. And we're very fortunate that Brad Hansen and Rod Staska are the two people who will be the co-chairs of that. And so they'll be working behind the scenes and making that happen. But a big shout out goes to our Convention and Visitors Bureau and Beth Fisher and the hard work that her and her staff did to get this and make this happen here. The last time that we had it here in the Willmar area, it was held between Spicer and New London, and that was in 1995. So it's nice to get that back. We were in St. Cloud on Saturday, and St. Cloud had applied to get it 3 separate times before they were finally awarded. And we have been now awarded it the second time. So kudos to our Convention and Visitors Bureau staff for the hard work that they've done to make this happen. So very, very good work. The next thing I want to do is recognize Ken Warner, the chair of, or the executive director of our local chamber. He received the Executive of the Year Award by the Regional Chamber of Commerce organizations. And so that's a very good designation that he received on behalf of his public involvement and all the work that he does. So just a shout out to Ken for the good work that he does promoting Willmar, promoting our area, promoting the positive things that are happening. And of course, a part of that also is his involvement in the stuff that he's done with Vision 2040 and the leadership that he provides to that group. And then the last is that Minnesota First Citizens Assembly site has selected Willmar to be their second city that they're going to look at. There was a write-up in the West Central Tribune about this. They received a $500,000 grant for this, and we're their second site that they're going to be doing, and so that's very good for Willmar. I had the opportunity to meet with the professor and his staff one afternoon, met with them for about an hour. They've got some very good things that they want to do in Willmar. I know that there were some council members that they said they were meeting with as well, as long as members of the community. So very good for them to be coming to our community. We got a lot of positive things happening in Willmar. We heard about some things in the work session, some housing that's coming to town. We've got development happening in our industrial park. We've got great staff. They're doing a good job. They're working hard, getting the job done. We appreciate that. And just wanted to give a shout out to people and let people know what's happening in our community. And of course, the last thing I want to talk a little bit about, and maybe some other people want to chime in too, but is the Destination Playground build. That will be starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. And there are shifts going through until the 26th of May. So 25th of May, May 25th. So a lot of people have been working behind the scenes on that. That's a great project, and it's going to be very good. So if you're going out to Robbins Island, you'll see the build happening. Stop in, sign up and help. If you've got some tools you can offer to help, they certainly need some more tools that they can bring to and help out that way. So, rain or shine, the event's happening, rain or shine. So does anybody else have any comments about the Destination Playground? Councilmember Nelson.
I'd just like to put a challenge out to the council members and to our city staff for everyone just to go out there and experience what's going on. It's amazing. I was out there this afternoon. I'm working on the food committee. And to see the volunteerism and the efforts that are coming together, I think it truly represents this community. And so I am very hopeful that each council member will take the time to go out there and watch this amazing build take place. And I would also challenge staff to head out there, check it out. If you've got time to volunteer, I think it would be great. But I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's working on it. I think this is going to be something that this community is going to be known for a long time, and I also feel that it is the start of the energy that this community feels for positive change.
Perfect. I will also mention that when I talked with the Director of Tourism for the state of Minnesota, and I shared with him the Destination Playground, he was so excited to have another thing that he could put out there, positive things happening in Willmar. So an opportunity to talk with him at the Mayor's Conference, and also on Saturday night I had a chance to talk to him as well. Thank you all for your involvement in that. And then the last thing I have is, tonight is Mike's last meeting with us. Mr. McGuire, you've done fabulous things. You're a rock star. You really pulled the council together. You pulled council and staff together. You've gotten a lot of good work done. I remember when Ron and I first talked to you, and we said, would you consider coming to Willmar? And you said, I'll have to think about it a little bit, and didn't have to think very long. And you said, yeah, I'd look forward to the opportunity. So, Mike, you've done a tremendous job here in Willmar. You've really pulled the council together. You've really united our team. You're handing off a well-run ship. We're running 100 miles an hour in the right direction, and that's due to your leadership. So thank you for that, and job well done. We appreciate you. I'm assuming you'd like to make a comment.
Sure. I want to thank you, Mayor, and the council. It's been, I think Willmar is in a much better place than 8 months ago, and that credit goes to the council and to staff. We're fortunate to have a very dedicated and talented staff, and also, it's been 8 months almost exactly. I know it was only going to be 4 or 5, but...
We liked you so much.
Yeah, but the people that we've met a lot of nice people, good people in town. We've stayed over, maybe half the weekends, just, kind of be part of the community, and it's been fun. We'll be back. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second, we're adjourned.